Canada's oldest company is now looking to sell off their founding document. Hudson's Bay is asking a court to allow their royal charter to be put up for auction. The charter is what launched that company over 300 years ago, giving them the right to claim ownership over massive chunks of land that is now Canada. For more on this historical document and what it might become of it, we're going to turn to Cody Groat. He is Groat. He is an assistant professor of history and Indigenous studies at Western University. Cody, how do I say your last name?
Groat.
Great. Groat. Let's talk about the significance of this document. I mean, I think any Canadian hearing this would think this is a pretty important piece of paper.
I've been quoted before as saying this is the crown jewel of a company, and it really is the document that started it all. And what's so significant about this founding charter is it's not just the document that started a business. It really gave political and administrative control to a company over a vast tract of what is now North America.
So explain to us then why would Hudson Bay, it's pretty, they're in financial trouble. That's why they're trying to sell it, to make some money?
Yeah, most of the Hudson's Bay Company archival records were donated to the province of Manitoba in 1994, but this has been kept in the Bay corporate headquarters at 401 Bay Street in Toronto for a long time because it is an asset of the company. It still guided their business operations. But now that they are in their financial difficulties, it being an asset is the same as any store or property that they have across the country. They're going to sell this now as another thing that they can capitalize from in order to pay their debts. But really, I think it needs to be viewed as something that's quite historically and culturally significant.
How much do you think that something like this is worth at auction? What might it go for?
See, I never like giving a monetary value, but I do think of the political and cultural significance. So this document, in its own wording, tried to alleviate or destroy the Indigenous political sovereignty that existed across most of North America. This document claimed that because these lands weren't already possessed by a Christian prince or a Christian state, that the Bay could have political ownership over what is most of North America. So when we look at the questions of a monetary value, I think that's one thing. But I think I'm trying to hopefully see the conversation shift to have this being something that should be kept in public and public hands in an archival institution, because it's just so meaningful to this narrative of Canadian history.
So your understanding is that to this point it's been Hudson Bay headquarters in a filing cabinet? Like, how has it been preserved to this point? Because I think a lot of people watching are going to agree with you that this does sound very significant to the formation of Canada. Where has it been and what kind of shape is it in?
We have a great understanding of where this document has been over time. So when it was first issued by King Charles II, it was kept in Windsor Castle, now home of King Charles III, because that's where Prince Rupert lived, and he had administrative control over the Hudson's Bay Company. So this charter was in Windsor Castle for many years. During the Second World War, during the Blitz, it was in something called Hexton Manor in the United Kingdom to keep it safe from bombs that were falling on London, England. In 1974, it moved to Canada, and it's been in the Bay headquarters ever since, in a glass display in a filing cabinet. It's been really a document that has been, we know its history over the years because it has such deep significance. We can trace its movements for hundreds of years. And it's in quite good condition, actually, to answer your follow-up question. It's in really great condition now, and we hopefully want to see that preserved into the future.
So I'm just trying to imagine this does go to auction, the auction process. Who's a potential buyer? Do you think the Canadian government should get involved? Is King Charles III potentially going to want it? Because the historical, I think anyone who's looking for it would be somehow a history buff and understand the significance of it.
I think one thing that most concerns me about this question is that there's nothing legislatively in Canada that could stop it from going to, say, a private American citizen or a private American company or even an archival institution in America. We kind of have very limited legislative controls, but we also know that Canadian museums and archives have been chronically underfunded for decades and decades. So I really hope a public institution or a number of public institutions could rally the funds. The most logical place for me is the Archives of Manitoba. That's where the majority of the Hudson's Bay Company records were donated to in 1994. And this is really that final piece of the Hudson's Bay Company archival records that should be designated or should be sent back to the Archives of Manitoba to complete that collection.
Well, Cody, what an interesting conversation. Thank you so much. That's Cody Groat, Assistant Professor of History and Indigenous Studies at Western University, joining us from Ingersoll, Ontario.